Right, we'll just have a look at the verb to be, which might seem like a bit of a strange jump as we've just been talking about adjectives, but it's quite important now just to understand how, particularly in the third person singular, when we're describing particular nouns, that there's another way of actually describing something. Okay, and it uses the verb to be. So it'll be a good place to introduce you to the verb to be. Now, as in most languages, it is it's I've just lost the word. It's not regular. So in our language, I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. Okay, that's the present tense verb for to be. And most languages, it's irregular, and so it's no different really actually in Greek. There are some similarities, but you just need to learn these ones. So Emmy means I am. Remember, we don't. There are words for I, which we'll talk about some other time, but we can get the sense of the verb of the pronoun, if you like, at the start by just putting Emmy. So Emmy. Now we need to concentrate here just for the second person singular. You'll notice the circumflex over the top of that. It has the circumflex with the smooth breathing, and that's just because there is another common word which is which means if, and when we come to it, we'll look at that. But you just need to note that when it's saying you are, it will have a little circumflex over it. Okay, so we just need to bear that in mind. The one we'll use most probably now is just estin. So estin is the third person singular of the verb to be. So he is, she is, it is. So it's the same for all different genders for the nouns that you use. And then you've got esmen, este, and esin, and the new in brackets here just means that it's not always written. So sometimes you will find it will just be missing the new at the end, so it'll just be AC. Okay, it means the same. It's just to do with pronunciation. All right. You'll notice the endings here are similar to the endings that you have learned already for verbs. So you'll recall, of course, that the normal ending is omen, and then you've got ete. All right, so they're kind of similar, and then even for this one, which is usin, is also similar. So you've got some similarity in the plural to what you already know, and you'll sort of see them come. So anyway, that's the verb to be, and it'll be used in the same way in the sentences as a verb will. However, there is a use of the verb to be, which is used to describe a noun. So, for example, if we come back to our English grammar, if we come back to the predicative position, so the first one says the book is good. Now it's describing something about the book, but it's making a sentence out of it. So in one sense, it's emphasizing more about the goodness of the book by making a sentence, and but it is not in some ways saying anything particularly different to the attributive position. So we have the good book, which we had in the first case, but we can also say as a full sentence the book is good. Now the key here is to work out whether the adjective is in the attributive position. In our language, it's fairly straightforward. If you take the adjective out, the sentence can carry on and it makes sense. If you take the adjective out of the predicative position, then you get left with an unfinished sentence. You have the book is, and it needs to finish. So the adjective can therefore be used after the verb to be, and what we have this time is known as a complement. All right, this word is if you like, is complementing, I suppose, the noun. It is giving something about the noun, but it's put into a sentence. And you can of course do the same as we talk in terms of stacking the adjectives. So the temple is beautiful and old. The slaves are bad and evil. So that's that particular position for our adjective, i.e. the position in the sentence or in the clause, it's got one of two options here. All right, and in Greek there is a way of being able to determine which one it is. One of the ways, is we just come back to it, is because it will use the verb. Okay, but it's a little bit more complex than that, and we just take a few minutes just to think about what's going on. So first of all, emi agathos is going to be translated in the way you would expect it to. We can translate in order. So I am, and then I am good. Okay, and you can change the ending if you're a different gender. I am. I'm gonna go with masculine here. So I am good. So for the second one down, though, if we're starting to describe nouns, so let's have a look at this. We've got hohuios estin agathos. As you might expect, normal sort of word order. The sun is good. Right, that's nice and easy, I hope. And just simply translate the words, and they're in the order they come. Now, I want you to notice that it's not in the accusative. All right, it's not accusative. Up until now, if you have a word that follows the verb, then we talked about it being the accusative because it's the object. But good isn't an object in this sentence. Good is a complement to the noun, which is the subject. So it therefore will be in the same ending as the noun which you have as your subject. So in this case, it's in the nominative. It would be because it's a subject. Therefore, the adjective is in the nominative case, and then it also agrees in number and gender. So that's the first thing to try and get your head around. That we are now going to construct sentences which are around the verb to be, are complements, and so therefore they will use the nominative case after them rather than the accusative case. Now, because word order is not important in one sense in the Greek language, it doesn't matter if you switch some of the words around, and you will find that Greeks will put words at the front and at the end of sentences to emphasize things. So and quite often estin will just be put towards the back of the sentence so that they can bring the agathos further forward, but it still means the same. And so the sun good is still means the sun is good, right? And what we need to just look out for here is that we can translate the sentence. We're just looking out for the verb to be, which is fine, because if we see the verb to be and we can see that this is in the same case and everything, we know that we can translate it that way. The tricky bit is this, that the Greeks also like to drop the verb to be if they can. So hohuios agathos, which is the next one down, you'll notice the agreement here, also means the sun is good. Now, the difference between that and the attributive position is the missing article. All right, there is no article here. So I mentioned earlier that the article was a bit of a marker to tell you that it wasn't in the attributive position, or it was describing as a standard sort of adjective. So when there's no article, then this is the predicative position, which means that we're going to use the verb and it makes a sentence. So hohuios agathos, as I've got here, this one, is the sun is good, and we know it's that because even though there's no est in, there's no article. Because there's no article in front of the adjective, therefore it's in the predicative position. Okay, so and that might take a while to sort of get your head around how that works, but you really are looking for, it's all to do with the article, you're looking for the article really to see where it is in the position of the words. And then finally, you can change the word order as long as the complement doesn't have the article. Okay, so I could actually write it like I put it here at the bottom, which is again all in agreement, but we have good, but notice that there's no article. So this means that we can work out which is the subject and then which is the complement. So in one, if we didn't deal with the article, so if we didn't deal with this this letter properly, then we could say good is the word. All right, that doesn't actually make any sense. Sorry, not good is the word, good is the sun. All right, which doesn't make any sense. It's not good English anyway. So this still reads the sun is good. Now it's possibly slightly frustrating that I've literally given you 4 different ways to write the same sentence in Greek. And in English, we only have one way of writing it. But I think we're beginning to realize that the Greeks were quite versatile with their language. So we're going to get our head around that. It's going to take a bit of time. But let's take a look, shall we, at a couple of questions just for a few minutes, and then we'll have a little look at John 1 perhaps in the last minute or so. So I'll do the first one with you, and just to sort of go over what I've just said. So some of these in these 8 questions here, they're all using the verb to be. Some of them don't have the verb in it, but it's written in the order that it needs to be in order for you to be able to describe it in that way. So Hohodelphos, the brother. Estin is the verb to be, and then pistos, which is faithful or believing. So in this case, probably faithful makes sense. So we've got the brother is faithful. All right, that's written as it should be. If we look at number 3, I'll do number 3, and then you can, because number 2 is similar to number 1. So if we look at number 3, we've got Kale estin Hehadelphe. So Hehadelphe has the article, so that must be the subject. Kale, although it comes before the noun, it doesn't have the article. It is the complement. So the translation here is Hehadelphe, which is the sister, is, and then Kale, which is beautiful. All right, so that's what we are trying to learn at the moment, trying to get our heads around the fact that although the word order might not be as we want, it does have an indicator to tell us whether it's going to be translated as a sentence using the verb. All right. There is a little exercise just underneath, which you probably won't have time to look at, but they're a mixture of all what we've done today. Okay, and it would be good to try and mix it up, but probably get your head around a few of these. So you've got 2 minutes really. Just try a couple of these out if you can, and we'll just check in a mo. I'll just stop the recording.